Hello and welcome back to the channel. In today's tutorial I'm going to be sharing with you how I made this beautiful Queen Anne neckline blouse with a skirt. So if this is something you like, please don't forget to hit on the subscribe button, give this video a thumbs up. So let's dive right into today's video. So to start, I've gone ahead to cut out my pattern and I added ½ inch on this part and at the lower part, and on this part I added at the upper part in on top and by the side, and also at the lower part of the dress. So I repeated this also for the lining of this dress. So when I was cutting this, I was not too comfortable with what I have. It didn't really give me the shape I wanted, so I'll just go ahead and trace this out because we have like a slight basque or deep waistline there, and I'll just go ahead and retrace and also make sure I add ½ inch underneath it this way. I'll also go ahead and repeat this for the lining of the dress. So after I'm done cutting out, I'm just going to go ahead to open this up, and on my fabric I went ahead to iron stay on it, and also on the center I ironed stay on it. So I'm going to go ahead to open this up, and I'll be joining my dress with ½ inch this way. I'll just go ahead to place and I will pin and stitch with ½ inch. So pinning the dress will make it easier for you to join, especially if you're a beginner. And I'll just go ahead to pin this to the upper part of my dress. After I'm done pinning this side, I'll also go ahead to pin the other side. I'll go ahead to pin the other side with ½ inch, and I will be stitching it also just the same way I stitched the other side. So for the fabric I'm using a crepe, a very thick crepe for this dress, and I'll just go ahead to go to my sewing machine and I will stitch this down with ½ inch. Moving over to the back pattern, I added ½ inch in front and at the lower part. So I also cut out the lining of this, and for the lining part I did not iron any stay on it. I just ironed an stay, sorry, on the main fabric. So this is the zipper side. I added ½ inch here on the lower part and on the neckline and on top of the shoulder part. I did not add ½ inch in front of the zipper. So this is the lining. I'll put it aside and I will place my fabric. So I'll also go ahead to pin this just the same way I pinned the front part of the dress. So sorry, this video is a little fast because the video is very lengthy and I'm trying to shorten it. So I'll just go ahead and I will pin this all the way to the armhole area, and after that I'll be stitching it with ½ inch. But before going ahead to stitch it, I'll just go ahead to pin the other side. So you notice I have an excess on that side. I'll just go ahead to chop it off and repeat the same thing on this and also on the lining. So here's the back pattern. I've gone ahead to join it. So after I was done joining it, I just stitched down my sewing allowance to create this design in front, and this is also the other side of the back, as you can see. So here now is my lining, and I also went ahead to stitch it with ½ inch just like I did for this side. So I'm going to use my lining to turn this, and to turn it I'm just going to pin the right side facing the right side, and I'll stitch the sides and also the neckline and the lower part of the dress, and I'll also repeat it on this part of the dress. I'll go ahead to pin it down. So I'll be stitching up the neckline, the zipper side, the lower side, and also the side, and turn it to the right side from the armhole part. So here is the front part of the fabric, or the front. I've gone ahead to stitch it down, and I stitched down my sewing allowance on two sides. So I'll just go ahead and open this up, iron it, and I'll stitch it down also. So on the lining of this dress, this is the front part. I ironed an stay on it because we are going to be adding a boning to the front part. So after marking my under bust point, I'll leave like ½ inch or 1 inch at the lower part of the dress to enable me turn the dress or not have issues when I'm turning it. So I'll go ahead and I will sew boning on this. I will sew boning on this joining and the center, and also sew boning on this part, and attach boning also on the other side of the dress. So after I'm done sewing the back, this is what it looks like, and now I'm just going to keep it aside. So here is the front part of my dress, and this is also the lining of my dress, and I'll be using it to stitch down or turn up the front. So as you can see, I added boning to this. So now I'm going to be turning this up, and to do that I'm going to go ahead to pin my dress first. So after I'm done pinning and I'm sure it's secured, I'll be stitching up the neckline, the side, the lower part, and the other side of my dress. So after I'm done doing that, I'm going to go ahead and cut out the excess I have there, the excess on the lining, and I'm going to notch here carefully so that it's going to create that deep effect we have on the neckline, and also notch my dress round so that when ironing it I'm not going to be having an issue with that. So after that, I went ahead to turn it to the right side, and I'll go ahead to iron it much later. But before that, I'll place this, my front and my back shoulder, and I'll stitch with 0.75 at the shoulder instead of using 0.5. This is to make sure that your shoulder does not fall off, like the shoulder of the dress does not fall off when you're wearing it, because of the queen and neckline there. So after that, this is what I have. This is what my dress is looking like. So next, here is the sleeve of my dress, and I've already cut that out. Sorry I did not include it in this video, but I have tutorials where I cut out basic sleeves. So what I'm going to do is to add the shoulder of this dress, match the shoulder of the sleeve to the shoulder of my dress, and I'm going to be attaching it with 1/2 inch. After that, I'll go ahead and also repeat it at the other side. I'm going to use a pin to pin up my dress, and after that, this is what you have. I went ahead to pin out my zipper allowance. So now we're going to go ahead to mark our body measurement. So we added 1.5 inch for sewing allowance when we were actually shaping out our dress. I'll place my tape and mark my shoulder to bust line 9 inches, shoulder to under bust line 12 inches, shoulder to waistline 17 inches, and the rest of the dress is my top length. So after marking that, what I did was at each point I went in by 1 inch, because when we were sewing I marked 1.5 inches on both sides for my sewing allowance, and we turned up the dress with 1/2 inch. So I'm left with 1 inch, and I'll go ahead to mark it all the way up. So at the armhole, I'll place my tape and mark my armhole circumference divided by 2. My armhole is 16 divided by 2, I have 8. And after that, I'll just go ahead and shape my dress to the end of the sleeve. So next, we are working on the skirt pattern. So I went ahead to use this to cut out my skirts, and I notched the center, and now we are going to be marking a dart on the skirt. So from the center, I marked my nipple to nipple divided by 2, and from that point I came down by 4 inches, and I'll be marking 1/2 inch on both sides of that line, connected to the ending point, that is that 4 inches for the dart. And on the other side again, I'm going to place my tape, measure 3.5 inches, come down by 4 inches here, and I'll add 1/2 inch at both sides of my pattern, go ahead to connect it. So I'll be sewing up this part as my dart for the skirt, and go ahead to fold up the 1.5 inches we added. So after I'm done doing that, here is my dress. Now I'll go ahead and mark my zipper allowance of 1 inch on this pattern, and after marking that, I'll just draw a line and connect it. So I'm just going to come up by 6 inches for my slits at the back, because we're also going to fold it. And from the upper part, I'll come down by 7 inch for my zipper, and I'll go ahead to stitch the rest of this dress. And before going ahead to stitch it down, I'm going to be adding that to the dress. So for my zipper allowance, I'm going to mark my nipple to nipple, come down by 4 inches, and draw my dart just like we did for the front. So here I'll mark my 1 inch zipper allowance, and from there I'll mark my nipple to nipple divided by 2, and I will be coming down by 4 inches. You can also use a 6 inches dart, and I'll just go ahead and mark 1/2 inch on both sides and connect, and I'll be stitching this up. So I'll just go ahead and fold the lower part of my skirt, and also turn the sleeve part. So here's my skirt after I'm done sewing. So what I'm going to do now is just to go ahead to pin up the zipper allowance, and I'm going to go ahead to open it up. So here's my back skirt. This is what I have after I'm done stitching. I'm going to place the front part on it, and we are going to shape the dress. So I'm going to place this on it, and I'm going to go ahead to pin the dress by the side, and then we are going to insert my measurement on the skirt. So now to insert your measurement, so I'm just going to go ahead to mark my waist circumference divided by 2 at this point, and then whatever I have here, I'll be sharing it into 2. So my waist measurement is 28 divided by 2, I have 14. So what I had an excess of 3 inches. I shared that on both sides. I came down by 7 inches, and what I have here is 21 inches. But this fabric is a little stretchy, so you will not be marking your actual hip measurement. That is if you're using a stretchy fabric. So I came in by 1 inch here, and I went ahead to mark 19 instead of 20 inches. My hip is 40 divided by 2, you have 20, but I marked 19 because this is a stretchy fabric. So I'll just go ahead and connect, and on the lower part I'll mark 2 inches here, and I'll connect it all the way down, and on this point I'll just go ahead and mark 2 inches, go ahead to connect. So after that, I'll go ahead to stitch up my skirt. So this is my dress after I'm done attaching the sleeve, and I've attached my zipper. So I'm just going to go ahead to chop off the excess I have on the zipper. So at the lower part of my dress, I made this organza ruffle or pleating on it. I cut out an organza and I added it at the lower part of my sleeve. So now here is my skirt, and we are going to add band to it. So for your band, you're going to measure the waistline of your dress. So my waistline is 28, extra 1 inch on both sides for the zipper, making it 30, and I added half inch on both sides, making it 31. That half inch, I'll be using it to turn in the band of the skirt. So for the band is 4 inches by 31. So to attach your band, so I'm just going to go ahead to place it, leave about half inch out, and I will be stitching this with half inch all the way around my skirt. And after that, I'm just going to flip my band over this way, and I'm going to top stitch on it all the way, and I'll be top stitching from the front. So another way also is to fold your band into 2, and then you're going to place it at the waistline and sew. So if you're doing that, you're also going to weave out your dress. So after I'm done sewing my dress, so this is the final look. If you find this tutorial very interesting and educative, please don't forget to hit on the subscribe button, give this video a thumbs up, and join us in our next video. Thanks.